So if you're watching in the webcast and you go, wow, the dragon just separated. Why isn't it showing 575
I
kilometers?
am. We haven't gone to full yet.
That we still got to go through.
Incredible shot there of pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Katt Phloxworthy here with my friend Puzzle Pulsar here. We are about to go to Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center, where they are getting ready to launch the Inspiration4 mission. And that will
Yes.
take them above the orbits of the International Space Station and even above. Hey, Luna Miura, how you doing? Great to see you here. It's going to take them above even the Hubble Space Telescope. They're going to be about 500 kilometers above the surface of the planet at an inclination of 51.6 degrees against the equator of the Earth.
Wow, that's actually
How you
something I
doing?
didn't. I'm doing pretty good. That's actually pretty impressive. I honestly didn't know that myself. Whew, they're going pretty high today, huh?
Yes, they are. And on top of that, they're not doing this just to do it just to pull some stunt. They're doing a lot of science on orbit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention a lot the various people in the seats of this particular mission have a particular thing that they represent. Like the commander represents leadership. He is the founder of a company. Um, there's also the medical officer who is herself a cancer survivor, making her she also happens to have a prosthetic in her leg, acting as I think part of her femur, and that'll make also that'll have two bits of history on there. That'll make her the first person with a prosthetic to go up in orbit, and also she will now be the youngest person ever to go on orbit. The person at the other end of that would be John Glenn, who went aboard STS 95 at the age, I believe, of 72. And of course, recently we had the youngest and oldest people ever to go into space.
Cool skies. Thank you so much for the raid.
They had Oliver Damon
Today we're watching
as the youngest person
Inspiration4.
to go into space, and then the oldest person to go to space, of course, was Wally
too.
Funk. And both went aboard New Shepard. So, anyway, you reckon we ought to go down to the Kennedy Space Center?
Oh yeah, totally. Let's do it. Let's totally do it. Mm-hmm.
Yep, let's do this. So meanwhile, they've all I've been giving as I've been watching the stream, I've been giving updates on my Twitter as to the progress of what's been going on. Everybody's been ingressed, and they are now, and it looks like they've also closed the hatch earlier. We got them fixed. So anyway, everybody is now in their seats, strapped in, and are now basically getting ready. And they've also done all their comm checks, make sure that they can reach various portions, both on ground and spacebound networks. And once and what you see on the left-hand side also is the crew access arm is still in place. And once they pull that away, the next things they'll do is they will arm the LES, the launch escape system. And there's Jared Isaacman, the person who represents leadership. He is the commander of the mission.
Oh, cool. I kind of do find that interesting. Like each one of them kind of represents like a different thing.
Yes.
So,
like I was saying about the chief medical officer, she represents hope because, like I said, she is a cancer survivor. I was watching some of the stream earlier.
Yeah, and how long has this been going for since then? How long has the stream in total been going for right now? What?
It's been going since about 12:30 Pacific.
Ah, okay, cool. All right,
and shortly after the start of the stream, they had actually left in their flight clothes, like the blue jumpsuits that you see normally when NASA astronauts come out of a T-38, for example. And then what they did is they went over to their equivalent of what they had, the Armstrong complex over at Cape Canaveral, over at the Kennedy Space Center, to go suit up and get ready to head out to the pad. And
Yeah.
Chris Zembrowski, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go first.
Yeah, this is Chris Zembrowski. He is the mission specialist, and I believe he represents the generosity for donating to St. Jude's, which is the institute that that helps a lot of people, a lot of children, regardless of what walk of life they come from, and whether or not they can even, I believe, even whether or not they can even pay, if I'm not terribly mistaken. And the St. Jude's, I think, helped her out. Haley Arsenault, who's
And what else? Or one of the things that like when I was watching earlier, I was flabbergasted at with the whole oh gosh, the ready room that they had and whatnot. It looked so good. Like you had like the dragon a picture of the dragon capsule on the wall, like from all angles of it, essentially. Like the top, the side profile, and like the bottom. I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
It looked a lot. It looked very. It looked a lot more modern than like the ready room they had at the Armstrong complex.
Oh,
I must say.
and this. Oh, I see. Because of all just the sheer amount of space available to them.
Oh yeah.
And this is Dr. Sian Proctor. She is an entrepreneur, and she represents the prosperity segment of the crew. And they're all showing about the various keepsakes they're taking with them on orbit.
Speaking of keepsakes on orbit, do they happen to have a? Do you think they have a 0G indicator as well?
That's a good question. I haven't heard either way. I haven't been paying full attention. The main thing I've been doing, of course, is making sure that everything is ready for the stream and for it to go off like this. I
get the feeling that we're not gonna necessarily know yet of what it is, but just like with the previous the space station missions, we'll probably learn like as they get into orbit.
Yeah, I've been sort of thinking of perhaps making see if I can get a Katt Phloxworthy stuff he made and maybe send it to one of the crews and say, hey, can you send this up?
Oh, real talk, I would love to see a Fumo go up in orbit, like just like a Reimu or a Mariza or whatever. Oh, that'd be funny.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or Ryson.
Or if you really want to get right down to it, Ryson.
Yes, Ryson.
I mean, look at you, for crying out loud.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, once they pull the crew access arm away, they'll, like I said, they're going to arm the flight termination. I mean, flight termination system only comes into play when they're actually in the air. But I meant the launch escape system, which consists of 8 Super Draco engines burning monomethylhydrazine and dinitrogen tetroxide to pull them away from the vehicle. In case something goes wrong. They did a pad abort test with just the vehicle itself. I mean, just the capsule itself. And then, of course, they did at the beginning of 2020. They did the in-flight termination one, where they essentially flew a more or less complete vehicle. The only thing they didn't have was a second stage engine, because right after Max Q, what they did is they shut all 9 Merlin 1D engines completely off. And which, of course, is a very much off nominal condition. And at that point, they tested the launch escape system by letting the rest of the system say, oh crap, let's get the hell out of here, and then and then they light up all the engines, all the Super Draco engines, and it pulls it away from the vehicle, and then the rest of it, and then things just went sideways from there, quite literally. In fact, it went sideways into the stream, and then I'm not sure if it's the FTS that set it off or just plain old blew up.
I would imagine that, from the external forces, it literally, although it did look like the range safety officer kind of just switched the key and pressed the button, but
wouldn't surprise me.
but it did look like it started to, take those external forces and, break apart as well. So
Yeah,
kind of like how,
and it's right,
well, hmm?
and it's right around this point, unfortunately, where the Challenger was disintegrated back in 1986.
Yeah. Jeez.
So yeah,
That, that is a thought I had just not too long ago. That like these, that the capsule designs like of Falcon 9 and or of I mean Dragon and Starliner are very, unlike the space shuttle where, one thing they have going for them is just the safety. The fact
right.
that we've gotten back to this whole idea of just having a abort system and whatnot, and you won't lose crew. So
Yeah,
in case of,
and on top of
something that's
that,
off
and on,
nominal.
and
Hmm.
the other thing that to bear in mind is that the space shuttle was never tested uncrewed like the Buran was.
Oh yeah,
You could
that.
not.
Hmm.
There was just no way you could have done it because apparently the space shuttle, up until the very, very, very end of the program, um, could not run autonomously, not fully autonomously anyway.
Hmm.
Not like the Buran, which could, in fact, and did for the first and only mission it ever flew.
Gosh, the Baran, that, yeah. If we could have had I think the space shuttle would have been, probably would have still, been, deep sixth, but I think it would have been, or it would have been even more successful if we had like a design like the Buran. But yeah, you know.
Yeah. The biggest issue, though, with the space shuttle, unfortunately, is that a lot of the vendors that provided some of the stuff, including and especially pressure vessels,
Mm-hmm.
like for the RCS systems, um, basically what happened there is that those companies just sort of ceased to exist, and of course they had no way to get any kind of fixes for them into place, so they had
Oh
to
yeah.
so that was another reason, more than anything, to possibly draw it to a close. Is that a lot of the vendors? You got to remember, the space shuttle was a product of the
Oh
1970s,
yeah.
and it was started right around the Nixon administration.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, like it is kind of interesting when you think about it. Like you had like a lot of the technology from, or a lot of the foundations from like the Saturn V and the Redstone rockets that are that were literally there. You know that you could have just kept, building and reiterating upon, but they just like NASA decided, okay, no, we need to go for something brand new. We need to like invent new technology and whatnot, and they never. It felt like they didn't really reuse that or like almost anything from that. So
Yeah.
meanwhile,
Well,
you now have. Oh,
the thing to bear in mind with Redstone is that it's actually it was a suborbital system built by Chrysler. Um, you couldn't. I mean, you'd have to have additional stages on there, and even so, I'm not sure if there was enough thrust to handle additional stages, like say, for example, a Centaur. While the Mercury, I mean, while the original Atlas that used to take Mercury up there
mm-hmm.
had more than enough power to get it up in orbit. And on top of that, I'm not sure what the difference in terms of how much energy, stored energy, because also the Redstone vehicle used ethanol as the fuel, making it an Alkalox engine, or if you really wanted to get crazy, Boozalox, because sometimes back in the days of the V2, they drink the damn fuel. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. It just brings up like the one story I heard of the Russian bomber that was called the booze
Yes,
carrier.
I saw that one. Yeah, basically it has ethanol as the cooling system, and I guess one of the things they offered it as a perk for some of those people. Basically, they could drink some of that coolant because it's pure ethanol.
And then they
And
were
also, one thing to note, for those people who wonder why it looks so dirty, that's essentially soot that's coating the outer sides of the first stage, because it uses a form of kerosene, which is a long chain hydrocarbon. I think
uh
the one formula I hear is duodecane, which is 12 carbons and 26 hydrogen.
on that note, for my chat, anyone who doesn't know, SpaceX reuses all of their boosters. This thing has flown to space how many times now? Or this booster in
I think
particular?
2 or 3 particular times. I believe
Yeah.
this might.
So wait, is this the same one that's been yeah, this is the same one that's flown on Crew 2, or the same one that was flown on Crew 2, right?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
Let me go look it
But
up
yeah,
real quick.
like SpaceX, they literally refurbish, like they brush off the booster, they go, this thing still looks usable, Like they literally land these things on, on barges out in the middle of the ocean. I believe it I can't
Actually, this
remember.
is its 3rd mission, and the
Oh.
previous 2 were GPS Block 3 missions, Space
Oh,
Vehicles
okay.
4 and 5,
Huh.
and I covered number 5.
So, but yeah, they reuse like SpaceX other than like the second stage, they refurbish and reuse everything. So the Dragon capsule, it has flown this is the capsule Endeavor. It has flown on
Actually, this
uh
is Resilience.
oh, it's Resilience. I'm sorry.
Yes, and
I
Resilience
kept
actually
getting
went
that
up on
confused when
my
I was
very
looking at my
first day of
notes.
streaming.
Uh-huh. Nice. But yeah, Resilience has been up in space already. And the booster has, launched already. And the second stage, they're gonna, once that's done, or that basically burns up, but everything else on the rocket they reuse. Uh, though, mind you, I believe the Dragon capsule itself goes through a bit more refurbishment. Obviously, like they literally take the sides, the body of the capsule itself, and they they I think they redo a lot of the stuff on the Dragon capsules, right?
Yes, they do, and as a matter
Okay,
of
yeah, I
fact, they
thought
actually
so.
made a few, safety upgrades on it recently, in fact.
Oh,
They
the
made
other.
a,
Mm,
Yeah, they were basically what they did is they made a few updates on the, especially on Endeavor. They actually, they weren't actually planning to make that a 2-month long. I mean, it went from to August of last year. That originally wasn't in the plan, but they managed to. They apparently the stuff was good enough where they actually cleared it,
oh,
and they've
cool.
since refurbished it to the standard that Endeavor is up there on orbit right now is.
Oh, nice. Um,
Yes.
oh yeah, 'cause Endeavor's still in orbit. Yeah, the other thing with resilience that they've changed specifically for this mission is they added in a cupola, um, bubble like window, where that nose cone is. So the nose cone comes out, and there the astronauts will have a nice view of the of space.
Yes.
It's really it's really cool. I'm like, when I saw that, my mind was a little blown, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yeah, basically they have to do a lot of testing to also make sure that it doesn't collapse under the under stresses like just of being poked or prodded or what have you, just throughout the normal course of actual space flight.
Is there anything on how thick that window is?
I'd have to check. Let me go do a quick search on that.
I can
I
only
will have that
imagine. I know
information
they have some
momentarily.
protections like on the sides of it, for the because right next to them is the thrusters and whatnot. So they have like,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
some
right.
heat
The
shielding.
little Draco thrusters for
Mm-hmm.
RCS.
Gosh, that would be so cool to see up in orbit.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna ask the and that's another thing about the SpaceX stuff is that everything is touchscreen inside the cockpit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also the astronauts themselves do not actually pilot. Well, unless there's an emergency, they do not pilot the capsule itself. That is all done by the computer, and you know, so they're trained to pilot it, but at the same time, that the computer takes control of everything.
Yeah, it's
So it's
mostly
meant to be a
autonomous.
touch. Yeah.
In fact, it actually docks autonomously, and that's also how Cargo Dragon docks as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they updated what is it, Dragon 1 to basically what is now Dragon 2. It used to be that the Dragon cargo was like the first missions of like the Dragon capsule, and so it didn't really have a an autonomous docking per se, and they had to manually take the arm and berth it like every other cargo mission back then. But now that they have you know, Cargo Dragon or Dragon 2 or whatever it's called, it just autonomously docks like, okay, there we go.
Okay. Let's
But
see.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to get some more information on that.
Alrighty. I don't know if there's any on the internet about the cupola.
Yeah, I haven't
Maybe.
seen anything about the
But
cupola
yeah,
as well.
I mean, the thing is that it's mostly just like, you know, it replaces the docking adapter, and apparently they can or when it comes back to, you know, Earth, they can just take off the cupola, put back on the docking adapter, bada bing, bada boom. All right, let's get it back up into space to go to the space station. So,
yeah,
like, so the only two right now that are how many Dragon capsules were there again? There's Resilience, Endeavor. Is there any others?
I don't think the third one's been put together yet.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this is just gonna become like a naming convention with the things where they you know, it's just gonna become the naming scheme where like each one is named after some sort of what's that called in the human language? Like how you have Endeavor, Resilience, I guess like traits, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of like how like one of or like, you know, how we have Perseverance up on Mars.
Yeah. Resilience was named after the fact that we've had I mean, the fact that we managed to make it that far
or that the humans
with COVID-19, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Orton Gonzani on my chat. Hello, I saw you on Twitter. Very cool to see VTubers covering this. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this since, as a matter of fact, it's 10 months ago today that I started streaming, starting first with Crew 1, which I'd said earlier, use this very capsule, Resilience.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
It's so cool to see this.
Another couple of notes
later. Mm-hmm.
And in another couple of notes, I just surpassed 300 followers on Twitch and 360 on Twitter.
Nice.
Yes. So this is sort of a lot of fun things going on today. So I'm thrilled to pieces to be doing this.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to share it with you, or you know,
Indeed.
to be here with you. So yeah, usually like for me, unfortunately, I'm not able to, due to my work schedule and whatnot, I'm not able to make it to like a lot of these. But you know, when I realized, oh, Inspiration 10 is going up at like 5 o'clock Pacific Standard, I'm like, oh, I can actually make that. Let's go.
Yeah, and you mentioned that to me, and first thing I said was, want to collab?
Yes.
And I was actually hoping to collab with someone because if I was going to do this alone, I was going to start this about I was going to start my stream at about 4:30.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on an hour before launch.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for those who don't understand what we mean by an all-civilian launch, it means that none of these astronauts are attached to any government human spaceflight agencies such as NASA, JAXA, Roscosmos, ISRO, or CASC. ESA, thank you.
Mm-hmm. But
now,
yeah,
UK space.
but yeah, it's surprising. This is all privately, you know, I don't know if it's all privately funded, but you know.
Yes, it was. I believe it was to a degree. I know the guy who's commanding this mission. I believe is the one who paid for this shot to go up. And the generosity person donated a considerable amount to the St. Jude,
Hey,
and
Idrisil, thank you for coming.
and then the other two. I'm not certain how they got in there, but I know the entrepreneur, of course, which is Prosperity, and then the other one, which is Hope. I'm not certain how they got in there, but it seems very appropriate that that Haley Marcineau she has the Hope position because especially with St. Jude
Oh shoot, I'm
bringing
sorry,
the
didn't notice
survivability of
that.
cancer up enormously.
By the way, hello Elma. I'm
They
sorry I
were
missed
talking
that.
about
Hello,
that
Luna.
earlier before we started streaming.
Oh yeah. But oh my god, it's just surprising that like, you know, how far human space tourism has come. Like from, hey, Roscosmos will give you a ton of money in order for a ticket onto a Soyuz, to, oh hey, we're just gonna launch our own entire, you know, crewed mission into space.
Yeah. The thing is, speaking of space tourism, originally those went up on when they did crew rotations. They had some of them come up on Soyuzes. What they do is they'd have the space tourists come up on one Soyuz and then go down on the one that's been there for 6 months.
Oh yeah.
And as they change out the crew as well, and then the old crew that goes down goes down with them. And this is when originally the space shuttle was bringing some of the crew up there as well.
Oh.
So, and hopefully before, I'm not certain how soon it is, but I've been sort of keeping every now and again I keep an eye on Boeing Space's Twitter page to see how things are going with CST 100 Starliner, because it was looking so close to getting off the ground, and then of course things happened. Apparently, a lot of that was due to an electrical storm that went through there
Oh geez.
right around the time it was getting ready to launch, and that's the reason why they had to scrub.
Oh my good. It's it's amazing how like SpaceX has literally been running circles around Boeing, and
Yeah.
just the the problems that Starliner's just faced. It's just like you look at SpaceX and you're like, what's Boeing doing wrong here?
Yeah.
Like, what is
And
it?
that's especially considering that there's a disparity in the amount of funding that
Oh, a huge
each of the
disparity.
agencies got. We're talking about $6 billion was given to Boeing to develop Starliner, and about 2.4 to 2.6 to SpaceX. And one of the things that I've said before is that it seems to me that I think there's too much of a cozying between the federal government and
Oh
Boeing,
gosh,
because
yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, don't get me started on the United States and their whole, you know, the it all comes down to like the military industrial complex and all sorts of other nuances that's just like, you know, when Boeing completes their stuff, you know, what they're not going to get any more federal funding and whatnot. So, you know, you can just drag, you know, your heels and whatnot. But SpaceX was literally on the cusp of dying at one point. Like literally
yes,
to where if they failed that mission, it was, or if they failed what was it, the third or fourth Falcon
Falcon 1,
1
yeah.
mission, it was done. They were over. They were gonzo. Also, apparently I heard one story where like the island that they were on a random side note, the island that they were on, uh like they didn't have enough food for the engineers, so the engineers started to go on strike. It was a silly little
Oh
story
dear.
I read, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right for like SpaceX when they were first starting.
Yeah.
And you know, now you've got this multi-million-dollar company that's just like, yeah, we'll send you up for a price.
Yeah. But thankfully the price is actually going down, and there's
Oh yeah.
everybody in the cockpit just strapped in and ready to go. So yeah, it's so basically the whole idea here is that in fact, even in Russia, they're looking at farming a lot of the space flights out to the private sector,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially launching of satellites and stuff like that. Pardon me. They have been they pretty much farmed it. They've more or less done a lot of that here in the States. Um, to a different degree, I don't know if ULA is considered the private sector necessarily, but they're certainly a government contractor, and
Oh
I think
yeah.
to another degree is so is SpaceX for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, is that they didn't need any. Originally, it was just Elon Musk wanting to get some Russian engines, and Russia said, ain't happening." Of course, and of course, that was the impetus for founding SpaceX, and which, of course, designs their own engine, including the
He's like,
various iterations of the Merlin 1, and of course, the Kestrel, which was the upper stage for Falcon 1.
I don't know if this was Elon like talking out of his butt, but I remember one interview where he was like, "Oh yeah, rocket science is very easy. I read some books on it, and I became smart enough to start designing this stuff." And I'm like,
Oops, sorry.
okay, but he's just like, yeah, here's some rockets and whatnot, and look at where they are now. It's like, geez,
Yeah,
but
man.
it when you look at like the rocket or the history of like these modern rockets, and you were talking about ULA, and they have oh, what is it, it was, or what was it, they like with the dissolution of like the Soviet Union, they had like, or the Soviets had like all of these different rocket engines, and so we started to put them into or America started to put it into their
In
rockets,
this
right?
case, in this case, it's
I
the
think it was like the
RD-180 that
Atlas.
was being put into the
Yeah, the
Atlas
RD
3, and then
180, that's the one. Mm-hmm.
subsequently the Atlas 5.
Yes,
The
rockets go
one thing that
brrr.
the RD-180 that sets the RD-180 as well as all its kin apart, the RD-170, which was on which it was based, and the RD-190 and 181, which were based on it, they all use a closed cycle stage combustion oxidizer rich cycle, which is extremely difficult to accomplish because you got to have an alloy that can actually handle the high temperatures without being consumed by the oxygen that's going through there. And this is pure oxygen, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what's going on is that and on top of that, and then beyond that, you have the RS-25, which powered the space shuttle and will power the SLS, and that also uses a staged closed stage combustion cycle. The only difference is it's fuel rich.
Mm.
So basically what happens is, and then what they do is they take both of them together, and you have Raptor, which of course is fueled on liquid methane or LCH4 and liquid oxygen. The idea behind that is that absolutely none of that stuff goes to waste. None of
Mm-hmm.
the propellant goes to waste. Some of it is used to power the turbo pumps, and the rest of it's burned in the combustion chamber.
Mm.
Yeah, because one side runs oxidizer rich, sending the remaining oxidizer into the combustion chamber, and then the other side runs fuel rich, sending the rest of the fuel to the combustion chamber. So, in the meantime, I think we're seeing what Haley Arsenault was talking about when she was um, she has received so much from St. Jude, and now now this is partly giving some of it back. And in fact, I believe you can actually make donations during the
Mm-hmm.
course of the mission on behalf to go to St. Jude.
Yes, actually, if you go to the SpaceX stream, they have a fundraiser going on for that. So I'm gonna link
Mhm.
that in my chat just so you guys can see. But yeah, they have
I'll
like
pick that up and
a full on fundraiser going on.
link it in mine as well.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I believe one of the people. I think one of the people donated like $100,000 or something like that already. Like
Oh,
one of
that's
the, I
cool.
think I can't remember if it was one of the astronauts. I heard that earlier on the stream. But yeah, it was so cool. But so far, they've raised $188,000 about
Yeah, that's
little
pretty cool.
over that. Yeah.
N- and since we're talking on the we're talking on the subject of charities, that is one thing that has always amazed me also about the various streamers is that, the passion that they deliver a lot of that stuff to, like, for example, you and I, as well as Luna in the audience, we all
Mm-hmm.
participated back in July. Or was it June? I forget. But anyway, we participated in a fundraiser with Sumio Santana,
Yes.
giving money to the uh, donating money to charity. In this case, being Make a Wish International.
Mm-hmm.
So and it always amazes me of all the stuff that happens there, and I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see that happen again. In fact, I believe it actually will.
Uh-huh. I've heard rumors that Sumio wants to do one in October.
Yes, and in
Um,
fact, I want to play Left 4 Dead with you guys.
oh, I'd be down for that. But one thing I poked Sumio about was being like, hey, would you be I'd be willing to, DM an entire um oh, what is it? What I my brain. A Dungeons and Dragons game for you guys and
Yeah.
whatnot. And one of the ideas I had for it was for like every $1 or $5 every someone donated, it would allow
Hmm.
them to give what's called in Dungeons and Dragons inspiration. So with
Ah.
inspiration, you roll twice, and you take the better roll. So like if
Ah.
someone's in a life or death situation, you guys better start paying up. Or you can or my other idea was if someone wanted to give me advantage, they could always do that as well. They're like, "Oh, you want Sumio's character to die? All right."
Poof. He's dead, Jim.
Oh, I didn't know that Dr. Proctor, that's her name, right? Proctor?
Sion Proctor,
Proctor?
yeah.
Sion Proctor. Okay, I didn't know she was from Tempe, huh?
Heavens.
Arizona. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know you're in Arizona. I don't know particular which part, and probably best not to talk about it.
The
The only
moon,
time,
Arizona.
hmm?
I'm on the moon. I just found that
Oh, okay.
fascinating. I just find Arizona kind of fascinating, to be quite honest. It's like the Australia of the United States. Well, that in Texas too,
Uh,
because it's got like all the poisonous things and whatnot in it too. I have visited there before too, as well. But yeah.
hmm
Yes.
And
Oh.
from my understand, they undergo through a lot of the same rigors that that NASA astronauts do when they go up to the International Space Station. The only difference is that they aren't going to the International Space Station. The one thing that they are doing that's in common with the International Space Station is the orbital inclination, which is 51.6 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're putting it. I'm not sure if they're putting it in position where they can actually dock with the International Space Station in case things go significantly sideways. Because one of the
Yeah.
things that they were I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like that is one thing that like they go through like rigorous training for this stuff. They train with the simulators, what to do when in an emergency, all the same things, listening for the fill up procedure, right? They're probably listening for like the fill up procedure and making sure, because they can probably, because if I remember correctly, they can actually hear the tanks filling up and whatnot. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, all they go through all sorts of things. But yeah, go on.
I hadn't said anything. I was just
Oh, okay. Oh,
Looks like they're getting ready to move the CAA.
Mm-hmm. That was the call out for moving it. So they'll be moving the arm back, and at this point, after that they will arm the launch abort system, and if there's a problem, then
There it goes.
Yep, here we go.
That's another thing that we did that we're doing differently from what we did on Crew 1, where we had our own feeds of the SpaceX feed. I'm actually pulling the SpaceX feed and providing it to Puzzle. So
I
basically, we
apologize,
can watch
Mallory,
it
but
pretty
that
much
should have been
in sync.
disabled. So I don't know. I'll figure out how to fix that.
I think you're mute.
Yes, I am mute. I had to tell my moderator something.
Oh, I see. I got you. I'm sorry.
I'm a little green to like the reward system. By the way, do you know how to refund points to someone?
I know on the other panel, the main Twitch panel, you should have a segment that says requests that allow, and then it gives you the ability to refund them. Not sure how to do it from within Streamlabs OBS. Sorry.
Okay, it's all good. I think I found it, so. There we go. There we go. Refunded it.
Perfect. Yeah, yes, the perks of affiliate and later partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they actually start tanking operations at T-minus 38 minutes,
Yep.
starting with RP1 on the first stage.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, they should start arming the LES.
So as a heads up for my chat, as well as anyone who hasn't watched launches before of Falcon 9, the main body of this rocket may start looking like it's starting to like get all smoky. Do not be alarmed. This is a natural thing with the refueling process. All it does is it's just condensation from the super cold fuels going into the rocket, kind of condensating out.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah, basically what's happening is, and also another note about that, they cool the oxygen down further to just probably a little bit above its freezing point in the case of Falcon 9, so they can pack more propellant in there. They even show the RP1 because they need every last bit of it, especially if they're going to be firing the engines more than the time it takes to get them to the point for staging. I'm not certain if they're going to be doing the whole thing with they're going to be doing a boost back because a couple of times normally they do boost backs when they go back to the Cape and land at LZ1 or LZ2 or both.
Yeah.
But in this case, in the case of stuff that goes on a drone ship, apparently what happens is that sometimes they will do boost backs if the area that they would normally put the a drone ship downrange may have a weather violation.
Yeah.
They just armed the LES, and they should be starting tanking operations shortly.
Yep. All right. So at this point, like I said, if there's any problems with the rocket, remind me, is it 4 or 8 Draco boost Super Dracos? 8 Super Dracos. 8 Super Dracos will light up and launch the astronauts to safety.
Right. Originally, they were going to do a propulsive landing, but I guess they said, instead and having landing legs under the heat shield, and NASA's wasn't exactly cool with that.
Yeah, parachute landings in particulars are usually safer, a safer bet. So I think, NASA was just like, all right, let's just keep it simple, okay?
Oh, cool. It's somebody on my chat says my dad actually works on the LES valves. Nice.
Oh, nice.
I imagine that was one of the things that happened because one of the things that happened shortly after the launch escape test back in early 2020 before
Hey, Darth Joey Joe. Thank you
that
for
happened before
coming. It's going good tonight.
the
How's it
DN2
going with you?
mission is that during a ground test there was a problem where some dinitrogen tetroxide got stuck on the
Mm-hmm.
wrong side of the valve, and when they went to pressurize the lines, it caused the entire vehicle to blow up. Especially considering that the fittings were made of titanium, which burn rather energetically in the presence of a strong oxidizer.
Oh,
And they've
yes.
actually since changed that on the other vehicle because it used the titanium ones as well, and they've since, I believe, gone to steel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agreed. It's a lot of work that for something you hope is never used. Yes. Better to have it and not need it than better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say about, like, speaking of, like, people who or what goes into a rocket, it you, it's surprising how much, like, stuff go, or like parts and whatnot that, like, SpaceX has, either built themselves or purchased from other companies to, like, put on their rocket. For example, I know a
Mhm.
person on Earth who he actually sold the cables for the that carry the signal for the cameras. So all those live shots that you see of the rockets and the uh when it goes back down, that was all, like, he always proudly says, "Oh yeah, those are my cables that are running that." I'm like, but yeah, so it
Helps to be
just
a little
the
bit
amount
proud
of
of your work.
huh?
Helps to be proud of your work,
Oh yeah,
especially for something like
definitely.
that.
Mm-hmm. They're only the highest quality cables according to them.
Nice.
um, but yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm still mind blown away that, like, we're here at 36 minutes from this historic launch here.
Mhm.
In fact, I was here for um when we did the collab with Danny for the crew 1, or was it
Yep. It was
demo
no, it's
2?
Crew 2.
Okay, it
Crew
was.
1 I did solo.
Oh, okay. Crew 2, I could have sworn it was okay, whatever. But yeah.
They should be starting they should have started tanking operations already. Normally they have
Now,
that stuff notated on the timeline, but I guess they haven't gotten anything on there just yet. We'll see though.
Kat, do you happen to know why this orbit is so, like, high?
As far as
Like,
in terms of an inclination angle
well, just in
or
terms of
altitude.
like height, like altitude.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am not sure. I wonder if that's to keep them out of the way of various other missions, like you
Objects
said,
and whatnot.
the ISS and the ISS being one of them, and the other being, of course, Hubble.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't get is why they couldn't say launch somebody. I don't know if they could. I think maybe Starship would probably be a better fit for say for example, launching a repair operation up to Hubble in case they needed to. But with the James Webb Telescope coming up, I believe that's
Mm.
actually going up next month.
Oh yeah. I
And it's going up on an Ariane 5 because it's a joint operation between NASA and ESA.
From a logistics standpoint, I honestly don't see any other, like, repair missions, because, like, in order for, like, a repair mission to go out on, like, anything, you'd have to have some sort of like airlock, because
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
that's true. That is absolutely true.
yeah, or else you'd have to decompress or depressurize the entire dragon, and I don't think you can. I don't think the dragon's able to be totally depressurized. But
Yeah, probably not.
yeah, and then like that is the one thing that the shuttle did have, is that it had its own airlock. You could go out there. You could even literally bring back the Hubble telescope if you wanted to, albeit
That is
you
true
know.
because that's what I would love to have
Mhm.
seen, because then it could do the one thing that no other piece of space hardware on orbit could ever do, be a part of a museum collection.
Yeah, unfortunately, like you could, in theory, if you sent up a bunch of missions from like Starship, like if you design a Starship totally to go up there, like and put on like the bolts and whatnot to mount it inside of like another Starship, you could do it, but the logistics and
Mhm.
costs would not be. I don't think they'd be there. Like
Yeah.
how much do people value the Hubble telescope? It would be really cool to bring back something from orbit, but I don't see it
Yeah.
happening.
But the other thing to understand about Hubble is that it went up defective. Apparently,
Oh
they
yeah.
made a mistake. They made a minute mistake in grinding the mirror, the primary mirror,
Mm-hmm.
requiring another mission to go up there and replace one of the other to essentially give it a what amounts to a pair of glasses. And of course, as we now know, uh, once they did that, everything we got some of the clearest and nicest pictures that we'd ever could see from space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one thing about the James Webb Telescope, is we don't have any kind of like, one, it's going to be at a higher or it's going to be in a higher altitude anyways. But, once that thing goes up, that's it. We can't go up there and fix it.
Yep. Especially considering that what happened recently to it was one of the computers decided to decide up on the Hubble decided to give out, and now
Mhm.
it's running on a backup computer, and who knows how long it's going to last.
Yeah. I think once James Webb's up, the Hubble will last for maybe a few more years, and then, that's it. They'll probably deorbit it.
hmm
Yeah,
It
it's
would be a shame.
unfortunate, but mhm. It
Yeah, it
would
would
be.
be because that thing has provided so many good pictures and has contributed to so many discoveries. And I don't know which would be a bigger loss, the Hubble once it gets to the end of its career, or the Arecibo telescope radio telescope down in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and in case anybody didn't hear about it, apparently several cables broke that was holding the actual antenna element above the high above the center of the that goes along a little track that goes along along the width of the dish. Several of those cables snapped, and everything just went and fell down into the dish below.
Mm.
And that thing already has a lot of history behind it.
Oh, I think there's talks about trying to bring it back and like, rebuild it, but that was a lot of damage that it, did.
Yeah. They're gonna have to start from scratch, I suspect. They're gonna
Oh,
have to
very,
probably
yeah.
demolish the rest of it and then build it completely from scratch. And hopefully, newer technologies will keep it from demolishing itself like this one did. And we're coming up on T minus 30 minutes. Mark.
Yep. Here we go. Oh man. Also, the background for these right now, I believe that's actually from the clean room, right? Or not the clean room, the prep room. Oh, I can't remember what it was called now.
This one? Oh, the ones where you see the technical drawings of Dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that certainly looks that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, like they were saying just now earlier up there in my chat, it's like, yeah, going through all the dealing with all the various stuff with the escape system. You hope you never have to use it, but
Yeah.
best to have it available in case you have to.
I mean, yeah, the most recent mission like in history that's happened on was the one
Was it MS-10?
yep, MS-10 was the most recent one, but yeah, it's good to have it, you know, in case of those
Mhm.
emergencies. I don't know though. In my opinion, I think it'd be a bit terrifying that you have these 8 Draco thrusters on the sides of the capsule. Like, I'd rather have a
Right.
tractor system that's maybe above me or below me, you know?
Yeah. The Starliner uses the below, I think uses the below method
Ah.
for its system, and so
Mm-hmm.
does New Shepard.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. The other thing
And
with
I see an event coming up on the timeline, which is stage 2 RP1 load.
mm-hmm.
And that should happen probably at about T-minus 20 minutes. I'm
Yep.
going to step away briefly. I'm going to go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
I shall be back soon. I'll be right back.
Okay. Going back to a statement something someone said in my chat. It would be a hell of a statement if Starship brought Hubble back to Earth. Quite a few naysayers, but like I said, you'd have to have some sort of billionaire philanthropist who would be down for, like, one, putting a ton of money and a lot of engineering work into bringing it back. So, like, you know, setting up and installing straps on it, having to deal not only that, but having to deal with the litigation of NASA basically saying, no, it's our telescope to bring down to Earth how we please, okay? So don't touch it, you know. That, or you could be that, or said person would be like some sort of like Bond supervillain that's just like, I'm going to steal the Hubble telescope. Wah! That'd actually be funny. That'd be a very interesting plot to a movie. I'm just saying, but yeah, lots of logistics there. Like how, yeah, and you'd probably have to have like a team like up there for at least like a week to get it down. Oh, this is just me spitballing numbers though. So yeah, we are just below 30 minutes from now. We're going to be launching, or they're going to be launching. By the way, thank you guys for joining Katt, Phlox, and I. Collab. Oh, hey, that works. Alright, apologies. Luna, oh. Huh, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm checking some stuff on my end for the Streamlabs.
Okay, sorry about the delay. I actually went out and get some
Alright, it's all
water
good.
because my throat was getting dry. There is a link there to if you want to do a I'll put it in the chat, just in my chat, in case people didn't catch it. Whoops, sorry about that.
Oh, right. Let me post my Discord as well if you guys are interested. I do have a Discord. Discord. Oh, finally that works. Okay, there we go.
I still would love to know how much. Looks like that thing's pretty thick. I'd say it's probably on the order of maybe half an inch thick, because
Oh
that thing
yeah.
has to be able. There's a difference between one bar, or at least maybe less than one bar, and slightly less than one bar, and the hard vacuum of space, which
Mm-hmm.
isn't a complete vacuum, incidentally. It's a very minuscule. It's a minusculely above a hard vacuum, though.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're coming up pretty close to starting the stage 2 RP1 load. Oh, they can't dock with the International Space Station. That's right, because they don't have the
Uh-huh.
docking adapter.
Nope. Yeah. The
I keep forgetting. I thought
Mhm.
I thought yeah. I
yeah,
had thought they were in an orbit.
they replaced Dragon Eye and the docking adapter with the cupola, so which
Okay.
it's still fascinating how they're able to interchange, or not. I assume they have to do a lot more, but they can actually interchange those things. So you can have the docking
Oh
adapter, or
yeah.
you can have the cupola. It makes it perfect for reusing the same capsule for space tourism, or if you want to send a crew up to the ISS.
Right.
So
And as a matter of fact, as you mentioned earlier, there is that vapor coming off the first stage.
mm-hmm.
And pretty soon we'll see that on the second stage as well, once they start loading liquid oxygen up there. And what you're seeing there is the condensation coming off, because as they're filling the liquid oxygen up, some of it's going to boil off. And rather than just let it stay in there and possibly burst the whole thing, they do have to vent it. And what happens is that when the super chilled liquid, oxygen gas expands by a factor of about 1,000, hits the air, which is very, very humid down in Florida, it's gonna show as a vapor.
Hmm. So if you were launching a rocket from somewhere that was a lot more arid, would you still have that vapor thing, or that vapor cloud coming off of it?
That's an excellent question.
Hmm.
I don't know if you'd see the same thing off that, but you'd certainly see a lot of things be. It'll still be quite. It certainly would be cold, and any moisture in the air would condense and freeze onto the sides of the vehicle. We're coming up on a stage 2 RP1 load before too terribly long, and then after that we'll start oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
What would the delta V of the Dragon capsule be if it used the Super Draco thrusters as its main engines? I don't think they'd be using it. I don't think they'd be using the that in space. The main thing it's for is to get them off, get that thing off in a hurry. It's sort of like what you call the get the hell out of here engines, if you will.
It's basic. It's the like thing of last resort. You don't want to
Exactly.
use the Super Draco thrusters, and only in an absolute emergency. That, and also because it's a one use system. So the moment you set those things ablaze, it'll burn. It'll burn until there's nothing left. I believe.
Right. Yeah, they actually had to make a change to the system because of the way they originally used ball check valves, and now they're showing that stage 2 RP1 load should be starting.
Mm-hmm.
There was a plan. Yes, I'd mentioned that earlier. Basically, the reason why that was scrapped was the whole idea of having to cut holes into the heat shield, which NASA wasn't exactly too keen on. So the Super Draco is being used as the launch escape system, and only the launch escape system. And I'm not sure if it's the same. The hypergolics that power that are also the same that
Yeah.
supply the Draco maneuvering thrusters.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, that's the other thing. I would not like, as far as like landing. I'd rather take the parachute over you know a propulsive landing, as that's hypergolic fuel that's right next to the capsule that's just being jetted out. Like, you literally, like, in order to like refuel and get approach a capsule like that has those things, usually you would need some sort of refueling, like suit. I forgot what they called it. I think the terminology is like a Michelin Man suit, where you just are this
Oh, that sounds
giant
about
like
right.
puffed marshmallow.
Yeah, because that stuff is highly toxic
Very
and in
toxic.
certain cases corrosive and in all cases apparently carcinogenic.
It's carcinogenic and will probably kill you within minutes.
Well,
And yeah, you don't
actually,
want to
what had
inhale it.
originally happened was the Apollo side of the Apollo Soyuz test project. Um, when they were at one point they were venting hypergols. Um, they did that when the air equalization valves were opened, and it sickened the 3 astronauts.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's a bad thing.
Yes, it is.
Um, I know with in researching the Titan 2,
Yeah.
they used hypergolic fuels in that, and like so
Oh
like
yes.
you know when they had the Minuteman missile silos and whatnot, they actually had these like uh they had like the refueling suits and whatnot, and they would have to like check them meticulously for any like leaks and whatnot, and they have to put on patches. So these old suits have like all these bunch of patches from where like there were punctures and whatnot.
Uh huh.
So yeah.
The
uh
it looks like they're just about full on the first. They're getting close, getting relatively close to full on the first stage.
Ooh, yes, actually. So, one of my viewers said something. They said would prefer parachutes or something like Sierra Nevada's Dream Chaser landing, like the shuttle. Yes. Oh my goodness,
Yes,
Dream
indeed.
Chaser looks amazing. Like it's
Speaking of the
it's.
Dream Chaser,
Mm-hmm.
there's also a segment directly to the aft of that, I believe, that also is jettisoned just before the Dream Chaser actually goes down into the atmosphere.
Yep.
Basically, you'd use that as sort of the garbage chute, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
and then once the whole assembly goes out, it jettisons that, and the rest of it goes down there.
Yes, and this friend of mine on Earth who sells cables not only to SpaceX but also to SNC was like really excited to hear that his cables were going to go onto the garbage can because that means he can sell them even more. Unlike
Nice.
SpaceX, where they reuse the rocket over and over.
And somebody on my stream asked the boop sound of the LR-87, which is the engine that powers the first stage of the Titan II. When it starts up, dude, is a solid rocket that starts the engine. Yeah, that's Amy Shira Title covered that on one of her things in there. There's actually an LR-87 at the Aerospace Museum of California, which is near what used to be McClellan Air Force Base, near
Mm.
the Sacramento County community of North Highlands. And they have one of those in there, and that was actually, I believe, built by Aerojet, which is located, which spent most of its time located in Sacramento County.
That's
And
pretty
we're coming
cool.
up on T-minus 15 minutes. And another thing, we were talking about reusability earlier. I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
you covered the whole idea of the reusable fairings.
Oh right, yeah, we haven't talked about that. So on other we're talking about SpaceX, right? As far as reusability
Correct.
fairings go. Okay, yeah. So I don't know. Are they still doing it? Are they still trying to catch them? But I know SpaceX. They on their missions that they were just launching payloads. They have things on the side called fairings that help with aerodynamic stability. And so what they would do is they would launch off the fairings, and they all both cost about $1 million each. Uh, and so SpaceX actually decided to try and catch them in like
Yeah.
actual nets, which was a bit like crazy, but they caught him a couple of times.
Oh yeah. They have
They're still
long since
reusing them,
captured.
aren't they?
They are still reusing them, but they have long
Okay,
since
yeah.
canceled the whole notion of catching them in nets.
Yeah, it's got a little
Mainly
bit of sea
because,
salt on it, whatever. But
yeah, yep,
yeah.
like they said on my channel, they just fish them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the most recent one, as a matter of fact, the most recent mission, which was starting the third Starlink shell, they used 2 that were reused, one that had been up 3 times, the other had been up twice.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're definitely reusing fairing halves.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing you might want to do is take a look at Scott Manley's channel. He has a video that
Oh
actually
gosh, yeah.
has a fairing half that has a GoPro in it. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently a boater found that one of those fairing halves and got the GoPro back to SpaceX, and I think that's what allowed them to start using starting them to reuse the fairing halves.
What's cool is they also release, or they actually released the footage from that as well.
Yes.
Hello, Data. How's it going?
And one of my chatters just said, "What is your opinion of the
Thank
reuse of the
you, by the
Falcon
way.
9, and do you think it is worth it to reuse it?" It's very much worth it to reuse it because manufacturing these things is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
If
I
you can
believe.
recover them, yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, and I can't remember the actual data, but I believe they said after like 5 launches, it pays for itself.
Exactly.
And Boost, I believe they have like a 10 launch lifespan. I could be
Yeah,
wrong though.
the most recent one just went through its 10th launch.
Ah, yeah.
That very one that sent several Starlink satellites up earlier this week was on its 10th launch. Someone I know in
Ah,
Discord
okay,
says
Data.
that reuse is not developed enough to be worth it. I would strongly disagree with that. Mainly because I mean, look at SpaceX. Its business is built on reuse of various stages of the
You
vehicle.
also now have like like people who are, or businesses which were or companies that were naysayers in this, like Rocket Lab. So it was like, why should we our our rockets are really easy to make and whatnot, and we can produce them really quickly. Why would we want to reuse them? And now you have Peter Thiel, who literally ate his hat over that because they're reusing their rockets.
Oh, Peter
Oh,
Beck?
that, or no, Peter Beck. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm having I had
No
the wrong
worries.
name there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Peter
that was
Beck.
that's talking
That was
about
the greatest thing
Electron.
ever. Uh huh. Yeah, Electron.
Yeah.
It was, they were like, okay, we're not gonna reuse them, and then they came up with the crazy idea to capture the rocket with a helicopter, of all things,
Yep.
because it can't propulsively land like SpaceX's. Hell, it's
No,
the rocket itself is about as big as one of SpaceX's landing legs, or on the
yep.
Falcon 9's landing legs.
Yeah, it's about 55 feet tall. And right now, in terms of completely operational vehicles, is unique in that it uses electrically pumped engines. However,
Mm-hmm.
once Astra gets going, then then they'll actually have a competitor in that field, as it were, or at least a
Oh yeah.
cohort. And that's another thing that happened recently. Two small sat launchers were in the process of trying to become operational. Unfortunately, neither one did. The
Yeah.
Astra, one engine blew up as the vehicle was ascending and sort of rose sideways, as it were.
That
It
was
moved
that was
sideways.
hilarious. It's like
Once
literally
the
going
fuel
sideways and then
injector
just
burned
goes
off,
up. Huh?
then it goes up, yeah. And then the other one, of course, was most recently the Firefly Alpha.
Oh gosh, that thing. It
Yeah,
just
and
like.
then what happened is, I'd say about quite a bit after after it left the ground, one of the engines decided to shut down, and as it was hitting max Q, the aerodynamics sort of made it decide to cartwheel. And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, the range safety officer said, "Boom!"
It did a bunch of flips though beforehand. Like you literally saw the fairing rip off, and the range
That's the
safety
very
officer
first
was
thing that
like,
happened is the
"Oh,
fairing of the
okay,
payload went bye bye.
click." Yeah, it was like, "Oh, uh, all right, we are less than 10 minutes out, folks, from the launch."
Yes, we are.
Woo!
Just got a Godspeed wish from the from Mission Control.
Mm-hmm. Next event coming up will be Engine Chill.
Yeah, during that point in the countdown, they'll flow some liquid oxygen through all 9 of the turbo pumps of the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the first stage to thermally condition them to make sure that they can take on the enormous volumes of cryogenics that's about to go through them without suffering thermal shock.
Mm.
That happens at about T minus 4. That'll happen in about T minus 7 minutes. And then after that, the next event after that will be about T minus 5 minutes is when the vehicle will go into terminal count.
Mm-hmm.
They don't mark it on the line, but that's something to note.
Yep. Man, to think like usually the Cape you have like storm fronts always threatening these launches, and today it's just
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, everything's perfect, you know.
Yeah, it's
Oh, you
earlier in the
couldn't
day it
have
was
asked for a better
80%, now
day.
it's 90, now it's been 90% all day. Have I seen the Apple TV show For All Mankind? I have not because I do not have Apple TV.
Mm.
You think rocket
I
launches will ever become boring and normal as Starship makes launches routine? Um, First of all, I'd like to see Starship actually launch and actually fly properly. We only had one proper landing
mm-hmm.
of just the Starship component itself, and I've yet to see super heavy launch. We're coming up
Yeah,
on T minus 7 minutes and the call for engine chill.
it is surprising to see like they're just going through what was it called? Reiterative
Iterative design and
prototype.
testing.
Yeah, it
That
just like
too.
boop 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 just producing these things like crazy.
Indeed. Here we go. T minus 7 minutes. Mark. There's the call. They have just called engine chill. They should be flowing some liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps to thermally condition them. And now we're starting to see a lot of the vapor pouring off the second stage as they fill it up with liquid oxygen, which is
Mm-hmm.
very, very cold, like about 200 degrees below 0 Celsius.
I have to say, like, it's it's very amazing how we've this isn't like their job or anything. These are just like four like people that they're not astronauts. They're just civilians that went through astronaut training and whatnot.
Hmm.
Well, not to say that they're not astronauts, because when they're in space they will be, but they're not like they're not up there because of NASA. They're not up there, because of Roscosmos. They're up there, as a fully privatized mission. It's just amazing that we've come to this point. Like
Yeah.
from my
Or if
point of
anything
view,
else, or
oh,
if
go on.
anything else, they're up there to make a difference.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And what's coming up at about just under 30 seconds will be the beginning of terminal count. Call should be coming anytime now.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We're now at terminal count.
All right, now
And
they're
that will
just
happen about 4 minutes, 30 seconds. There's a clamp just below the trunk where it attaches to the second stage. That will open up. And then the structure right next to the vehicle will angle back about 2 degrees. And then once T0 happens and the vehicle lifts off from the pad, it'll angle back an additional 43. There we go. It should be starting to open up the clamp. In fact, I think I could. I don't know if you can see the action happen now. Recently heard a concept in the 60s called Icarus. It's STO marine transport that could take troops anywhere in the world, kind of like a Starship is proposed to do. Yeah, single stage to orbit's very difficult to do, though. In fact, there goes the clamp, and the structure should be moving back anytime now.
All right, let's see here. Even Virgin Galactic was flown by trained pilots. If it wasn't like Richard Branson, took the controls himself, which he totally could have done if he could. Oh, okay, yeah.
There goes the structure. It's angling back.
But like with Starship and not Starship, well, with Dragon, it's like it's all fully autonomous. So, they can take the controls if they want to, but it's all done by computers. So it's funny how
Stage 1 has finished loading liquid oxygen.
All right, last 3 minutes here.
And stage 2 will finish loading within the next minute. Sounds like there's a lot of excitement going on in Hawthorne right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're now on internal power, meaning they're not taking any power from any umbilicals, and they're now on their own. Should be calling stage 2 locks close out any moment.
Mm-hmm. A little condensation on the camera there.
Yeah. And the next they just called complete of locks load on the second stage. And coming up at T-minus 1 minute, the vehicle will go into startup, where the computers on board the vehicle will take full control of the vehicle's critical functions and the remainder of the countdown. In about 45 seconds to 40 seconds, they'll call out readiness for the vehicle, payload, and crew.
Mm-hmm.
There's the call. The vehicle is now in startup.
Flight computers have taken control of the countdown.
There's the call. The vehicle, the capsule, and the crew are all ready for launch. They should be pressurizing all the propellant tanks as well. We're just inside 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 15. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9 carrying the Dragon, carrying the Inspiration4 crew, and the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Woo!
It's putting itself downrange, as I just mentioned, to place it above water in the event of an abort scenario. And the next event that will come up will happen right around the 50-second mark, where all the throttles on all 9 Merlin 1D engines will be put in the bucket, reducing the stresses on the vehicle as it passes through the densest areas of the atmosphere, culminating in maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q. which is the area where it receives the most aerodynamic stresses during the course of liftoff. There's the throttle down call. They're getting ready to go supersonic momentarily.
Yep, here it comes.
They just called Mach 1, and they're about to enter the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q. They just called the throttle up. They just called throttle up on all 9 Merlin 1D engines.
Mm-hmm.
At about 2 plus 2 minutes, 30 seconds, they will have main engine cut off, after which point the stages will separate. And shortly thereafter that, the second stage engine, the Merlin vacuum optimized engine, will ignite. They just started chilling the MVAC engine so then they can get its turbo pump ready thermally for it to accept lots of cryogenics.
Everything looking nominal so far. The last video feed we saw, the astronauts, they looked like they were doing pretty well up there.
Yep. I see a little bit of liquid oxygen venting on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes main engine cutoff. There's the interior of the MVAC nozzle.
As you see there, that's a small little pusher that pushes the second stage just that little bit.
We just got Miko.
Here it goes.
View from the first stage on the left, second from the right. And we have ignition of the MVAC engine. And there goes the second stage away.
Always amazing.
And on the left-hand side, there is the grid fins that are deploying to provide steering when it gets down to the denser parts of the atmosphere. And they've just passed the Kármán line, which is the border between the atmosphere and space. If this were a vehicle that had a payload on it with a fairing on it, the fairing would have been jettisoned by now.
Seeing that second stage startup always is amazing. Like, you just see the green flash, and then just as it launches away from the second stage, you always get spectacular shots from the Falcon 9.
And the ones from Electron are even crazier because
yes,
they're just boom, they're gone like within a second.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the first stage is way higher than I'm normally used to seeing. But then again, they are going to a much higher orbit.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the speed slows down to where it's not changing anymore and it start to go faster, it means it would have hit its apogee and its flight. And then all these little jets that you're seeing on the first stage, those are cold nitrogen gas thrusters that are used to adjust the attitude of the vehicle as it's getting ready to re-enter. I'll bet.
Oh gosh, yes. On the left side, those two things are grid fins, and as the first stage booster comes back down to the Earth, those will start to maneuver to catch the atmosphere to help maneuver it to where it needs to be.
Yep. It's especially used during the last, I'd say about the last kilometer or 10 or 5 kilometers of descent as the landing bird is burning.
Also, at least for if it was to land on land, the booster is always aiming away from its target up until like the last, I want to say 500 meters or something like that. As kind of a safety protocol to, make sure that if anything fails with the booster, it can safely be away from the barge or from land. Um,
It
trying
looks like it's already hit an apogee of about 165 kilometers, and it's now starting to fall.
Mm-hmm. Now, what? Remind me, what barge? Which barge is it landing on? Is it landing on?
I think this time it's a shortage of gravitas, I believe, is today's drone ship.
Oh,
It's either no, or maybe just read the instructions. I think.
yeah. I was wondering if it like I didn't know that a shortfall of gravitas was operational yet.
Oh yeah, they already did. They already did one landing, and that happened.
Oh, okay.
I think I actually did one of those. They actually, I think, scrubbed the first launch, and then I did the second. Did it on the second opportunity the following day.
Okay.
And it's about to. It's 30 kilometers above the Kármán line, and it's about to come down through the Kármán line just a minute. And it looks like Seco 1's going to happen before the landing burn. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
actual landing.
Oh well.
Because usually it
wow.
happens afterward or at about the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna go Seco and then landing. Wow, yeah.
They're about to do the entry burn in just a minute. They've just gone under the. They just went under the Kármán line recently. There it goes. There goes the engine burn. They start the center engine first, number 9, and then followed by the other 2 other engines, numbers 1 and 5, that flank it. That'll take the engine. That'll take the speed from about 7,500 to 8,000 kilometers an hour and bring it down to about 5,500 or so. And then things will start. And then the atmosphere will act more as a brake. They're
Mm-hmm.
about to shut down the entry burn momentarily.
One thing that's great about Earth's atmosphere is that you can use it as, a brake. So it's literal delta V, that you can use.
Yep, and it's about 90 seconds from the time they ignite the engines for the first. It's about 90 seconds from when they extinguish the entry burn to the time they start the landing burn.
Mm.
And it's about to go transonic momentarily. They're in terminal. It sounds like they're in terminal guidance now.
And next event should be Seco 1. So the second engine cut off 1.
They're transonic on the first stage. We have
All right.
Seco 1. We should be getting pictures of the landing, hopefully, before too terribly long.
Mm-hmm. SpaceX has worked that out now to where they can actually have a good signal from the landing barge.
We should be
most of
seeing the
time.
landing burn right about now.
Mm-hmm.
There's the landing burn. There's
Here
the
we
deck
go.
of the. There's the drone ship. We should be getting a uplink before too terribly long, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the time this happens with the
They
downlink.
just confirmed landing.
Yes! Woo! Let's go! Oh! On the right side, on the far right side of where the astronauts are, do you see that, Katt?
I think I see something. Yeah. Yep, there it is. I see it.
Yep, there's the 0G indicator.
Yep, there's the interior of the trunk. Lately, that's actually been taking up. They've been taking up the. They've been taking various bits up there in the trunk, both on crewed and uncrewed Dragon flights.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the main thing they're doing. Making sure that it's not tumbling in any direction.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go see if they have any pictures from the drone ship.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing yet.
And there's the interior of the trunk again. Sometimes on, like I said before, they'll have stuff in there, and that's an unpressurized storage area.
Mm-hmm.
Most recently, on a couple of the cargo dragon ships, they actually take missions. They took up several um, solar panels to go and replace some of the stuff that's already on orbit.
Yep.
At T plus 12 minutes.
Next event is the Dragon Deploy. There we
And
go,
there they go. And at some point, the upper stage of Falcon 9 will deorbit itself.
Huh. I just noticed something. They use the same Quindart tones that they used. Well, I guess they would. They're using the same Quindart tones that they used for the ISS.
Mm-hmm. That's because they use these. That's because those are specific to SpaceX vehicles.
Okay.
It's a much purer tone if it's NASA.
Yeah. Gosh, it's so high tech.
Oh, there's our zero G.
So, for those who are new to SpaceX, space flight streams in general, one thing that astronauts tend to carry along on board with them is this thing called the zero G indicator. Oh, okay. But yeah, it indicates when you're in zero G. So, yeah, just a small little toy that comes along.
That'll be interesting to see.
That'll be very cool.
I'm going to answer a couple questions in my chat as we're waiting.
Alrighty, go for it.
Says here, can I recommend a game for you to do a playthrough of? Yeah, sorry about the delay. Go ahead whenever you're ready. And would Super Heavy
Thank you, Mallory, for the hydrate.
ever be used in a fully expendable launch of Starship ever? If Starship ever comes online, that's a good question. I don't know.
So I hear a lot of cheering over at Hawthorne. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
So you want to know a fun fact about, and don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% confirmed on this, but you want to know a fun fact about Hawthorne? The
Sure.
SpaceX Hawthorne? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you know the movie Iron Man 2, right?
I know about it. I have not seen it.
Oh, you've never seen it? So they had a scene where you had the 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 villain in what was Hammer Industries, kind of like the competitor to Stark Industries,
Mm-hmm.
in like this very white like factory like environment, like looking or using his or showing off his prototype war machine kind of thing that's like the Iron Man suit. And they actually filmed that section at SpaceX Hawthorne.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Like I was watching the movie Iron Man 2 and I'm like, wait a minute. That
Ah.
factory looks familiar.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, there's another question here. It says, before I recommend the game, do you like flight simulator games? I really haven't played that much with them just yet, so I couldn't say either way.
Yeah, I don't really play flight simulators that much myself, although I do play a little bit of Elite Dangerous here and there. So,
Yeah, I think I've
right.
seen you play that on occasion, yeah.
My ship currently or my biggest ship in my quote unquote fleet, I guess you could say, is currently out in the middle of the Omega Nebula, and
Mm.
yeah, it's it's like my explorer vessel, so it can literally go like, I think it's on average it can get like to 60 light years per jump. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that game's a lot of fun, especially if you just want to just cruise.
Oh, Kerbal Space Program 2. That's, from my understanding, that's been under an enormous amount of development for a long time, and I've heard bits from Scott Manley that it isn't quite ready for release just yet.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Cool. So let's see. Let's keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And another note about that is that something similar on Boeing's Starliner, it's actually expendable. It actually jettisons shortly after, I guess, shortly after it detaches from the Centaur stage.
Wait, what detaches?
A nose cone that covers the hatch on the
Oh, okay. So they
CST-100
actually just
Starliner.
they get rid of it. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yes. Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and come back to the
Woo!
chatting window here.
All right, same
So
here.
anyway, everybody, that was a lot of fun, and thank you so much for joining me, Puzzle. I really appreciate you tagging along on this one because I really wanted to do this with someone on this one.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for having me on as well. And congratulations
Absolutely.
for 300 followers on
Yeah.
Twitch.
Yeah, and of course it's 10 months to the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
So-
man.
Yeah, so is the dragon in the background of the people there an actual flown piece of hardware? It certainly looks that way because I see all the scorch marks on it from re-entry.
Oh, yeah. That was actually, I think, one of their first crew dragons, or not crew dragons, but cargo dragons that came back. Or the
Yep.
very first. Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the meantime, not sure about you, but I'm gonna go and see if I can find someone to raid.
Ooh, yes. I was actually thinking that too. We could dual raid someone.
Possibly.
All right, let's see here. Who do I have currently?
I just got something here. Hang on.
Oh?
Thank you so much for the follow, 14 Gazinia. Thank you so much for the follow, and welcome to Workshop and Labs. I hope you enjoy your stay here. Hope you enjoyed the show too. Sure thing. I appreciate it.
All right, let's see
Appreciate
if this
you coming
will work.
by.
Oh, did you send me? Okay.
No, I didn't send anything.
Okay. Yeah, if you got someone, I think I might have someone.
Don't have anyone. What do you got? I hadn't fully checked everything out yet, but I just heard the notification. I figured I'd check it real quick.
Okay. Well, we could do this person. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. One of our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What's he?
He is currently playing. And I lost their name on my thing. Oh my goodness.
I was wondering what it was
Oh,
going.
they're playing. Oh, I know what they're doing.
Actually, I think we're going to be. We already have. And we've maybe next time, but we've already got someone in mind. Sorry about that. Somebody on my stream
Okay.
was asking. Okay, so let me get stuff for my folks here. I might as well do that here, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a browser window.
All right, sounds good. I got my raid already set up. I'm gonna head to the schedule screen in a moment.
Okay,
So-
and I'm going to go ahead and get ready to head out. Let me
Alrighty.
find. I need to find my browser again, so I can open up a tab to watch his channel.
Okay, yeah, he's doing something called join in and voice act. So a bunch of people are like voice acting different characters within the game just to make things a bit interesting.
Neat. I like that idea. That
Yes,
sounds
it's
funny.
hilarious.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna go ahead and set the rate up, and then I'll go ahead and call it the end of the stream.
Alrighty,
Stand
same
by.
here.
Okay, hang on a sec here. Actually, I'm gonna do it from the the panel over here because it's a lot easier. All I have to do is there it is.
Alrighty, and I'm gonna send it to my schedule. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you, my audience, for joining me today, as well as, of course, to Puzzle's audience for joining us too. I thank you so much for being here, and thank you on my side for being here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and head on out, and you can go ahead and head to your schedule, and you have a great one, and we'll see you later, and hopefully you'll have another collab soon. So in the
Oh,
meantime,
totally.
all All right. Have a great one, guys. Bye.
Bye.